These are the most insane punishments used by the Vikings. Many regions of Europe were pillaged, invaded, conquered, and colonized by Norsemen during the Viking Age, primarily from present-day Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. Generations of people who were not Vikings were scared when they saw Viking longships coming over the horizon. They were known for being cruel and ruthless, and they were such good fighters that the Byzantine emperor in Constantinople put them in his elite Varangian Guard. Were there rules and laws when they had to punish someone? How did they punish those who did wrong? Well, let's talk about it in today's video. Outlawry was a common dispute resolution where people were told to leave the settlement and live in the wilderness. Outlawry wasn't great for your health, and any citizen was legally allowed to murder you on sight. Though, let's talk about the harsher punishments. Let's begin. Tarring and feathering. Downtime. Some academics believe that the Bjarke laws of Sweden date back to the year 832, and they stipulate that a man who steals while on a trade excursion must be tarred and feathered. The tar was slathered on his shaved head, and then duck feathers were thrown on top. In response, the remaining merchants formed two long parallel lines with their backs to the interior. The guys would throw stones and bricks at the feathered man, forcing him to run between them. You could get punished if you don't throw something at the feathery guy, and a successful gauntlet run meant the thief was spared additional punishment. Holy cow, a Viking rodeo! What kind of legal consequence could you have expected if, as a Norseman of the early Middle Ages, someone had insulted your wife? What do you think you deserve? Why self-inflicted punishment? A holmgang, or duel, was a kind of formal dispute resolution that was widespread in medieval times. Unlike in some other countries, a man in a duel in Sweden or Denmark didn't always have to immediately give up or accept defeat by shedding his blood first and walking away. In many cases, his adversary would still be seeking lethal retribution. A cow rodeo, however, was the only thing that stood between the coward and certain death. The arena where the fight had taken place was, after that, used to house a cow. After that, its tail was shaved and greased. In addition to the cow being flogged and urged to anger, the man's shoes were drenched in grease. The man started the rodeo by pulling the cow's tail, which sent the animal tearing and writhing about like a pyrotechnic display. Holding onto the cow's tail for a certain amount of time would indicate that the man had passed the test and was allowed to live. The fact that he got to keep the cow was the icing on the cake. Blessed one. How enthralling. Slavery. Slaves, or thralls, in Viking lands are prisoners of war, common criminals, or people paying off debts. Slaves were a vital part of the Viking economic system, with a slave trade route that reached all the way from Ireland to Russia. Additionally, Vikings routinely sentenced offenders to servitude for a range of misdemeanors committed within the home. A woman convicted of stealing, for instance, might serve as the victim's thrall as part of her sentence. Slavery was a severe punishment for a Viking, whether for debt or crime. The thralls had almost no protection, and their masters could mistreat them freely. The thing authorized masters to mutilate or kill male thralls on the upper or lower body if they refused to work for their creditors. In most cases, thralls would house their cattle and pets together. Highborn masters often had one or two slaves buried with them since they required someone to wait on them in the afterlife, and the punishment for their slaves seemed endless. Some regions of Eastern Europe during the time of the Vikings followed a practice in which an elderly woman, called the Angel of Death, was responsible for the execution of the master-slave girls. The girl would be murdered by two guys choking her to death inside a makeshift tent in the cemetery, while an elderly woman stabbed her in the chest. Caught red-handed. Ordeal by fire. The dreaded ordeal was a punishment that became popular in late Viking times and spread with Christianity's arrival in Scandinavia. That challenge might involve something as extreme as drowning, eating, or being set on fire. It was believed that if a prisoner made it through their punishment unscathed, it was because God had found them innocent and intervened on their behalf. If the person died as a result of the suffering, it was assumed that they deserved what they got. As part of the ordeal by fire, the prisoner was subjected to excruciatingly high temperatures. They might have to walk on scorching coals, carry a red-hot iron, or put their hand in a vat of boiling water or oil. That's all for today's video. If you want to watch more videos like this, then please consider giving this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.